maybe not right now. So we are at the top of the hour. So welcome, Mr. Keith Parsons, to today's webinar.
Glad to be here.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. How have you been?
Nice to be seen. Very good.
WLPC, right around the corner.
Right around the corner. We are doing all the prep work. For those of you who are coming, you're going to have a great time. For those of you who aren't coming, too bad. We have no more room in the inn.
No more room. Any levers to push? Any tips for the audience? Join next year?
Yeah, get in early.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, fill out the compensation survey. We're trying to get as many people as possible so we get good information. Oh, WLPC,
Excellent.
that schedule is not right. But anyway, it's just the generic one.
Okay. But it's essentially a 6-day conference, boot camps on the first 3 days, and then 3 days after that of
full-on conference with deep dives in the afternoon and lots of events in the evening, including a Hamina event in the evening that will be a little a better deep dive into the things that UC does. He never releases new information, but maybe he might this time.
Yeah, never happened before. So we'll actually have a surveyor bake-off, like who's the most efficient surveyor type of competition during our evening event.
I should bring my Segway.
Oh, dude, isn't that cheating though? You totally should though.
Yeah,
if you have room.
You could bring Joel's scooter.
Oh, Joel totally should.
The pink scooter.
That.
No, I can't. That's my daughter's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She'll be mad.
Oh man, yeah, we won't do that. But yeah, Hamina has a boot camp. One of the 3-day boot camps. Do we?
Yep.
Yes, we do.
Eddie Ferrero's teaching the boot camp.
Eddie Ferrero, his first boot camp as well. And then we have a deep dive. We actually have 2 different ones. Jerry Alla, featuring the rest of the Hamina crowd, will be doing one boot camp, which is like the standard Hamina like power through, and then Peter McKenzie will have different survey methods and mixing and matching them using Hamina.
And seeing Peter's, it has some more advanced features too, so looking forward to that one.
Absolutely. More information, thewlpc.com. And next year we'll be in Prague as well. Any beans to spill about Prague next year?
So Prague will have we found a new hotel that can
the Ritz-Carlton?
Yeah, not quite the Ritz.
The JW Marriott.
Some people don't want to pay for the Ritz. I don't know.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah, really.
I would be the first one not to pay for sure. Startup life. Okay, but that's that. And you do a number of other things too besides just WLPC. You do consulting, you know, all that kind of stuff. You work a lot with Ferney, Munoz, and
we just like doing Wi-Fi. So there's lots of facets to Wi-Fi.
Absolutely. And
also just a shout out to Lee Badman, who just finished a book and published it on his curmudgeon way of seeing the world of Wi-Fi.
Absolutely.
But I agree with him in looking back over the last 25 years of being involved in Wi-Fi. It allows you to see the world and to see, like, I've been in diamond mines, copper mines, top of buildings, inside the bowels of buildings, planes, trains,
automobiles.
I went down the automobile. Oh yeah, actually we did. I was able to put in Wi-Fi in the Chicago police cop cars.
There you go.
And we tested them up to 75 miles an hour.
Trains, planes, and automobiles.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so
there's Lee's new book.
If somebody can we put it on the chat here? How do we do that? Chat. Here we go. That's Lee's new book, and we'll put in Keith's LinkedIn as well, if you want to connect. I'm sure there's like 2 people who have not connected among this 1,000-person crowd, and we'll put also the WLPC there, just in case for next year.
Somebody might want in, yes.
Yeah, there you go.
So remember, tell your friends, get in early. It's really hard. The last week, people have been saying, can you please get me in? And the answer is no.
One of our machine learning architects, we agreed on this like 4 months earlier, and then a week ago he's like, yeah, I guess I should sign up for the conference, and there's no hotels available. Surprise. So I had to stay in a Marriott nearby for him. I took the hit. Yeah.
You took. He's getting your bed.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
you're so kind.
I know, completely unselfishly. So should we start with those tips? Because we're already 5 minutes in. Well, that was actually many tips. We can count those.
Those count.
The conference is totally a tip.
And
Why?
get in early. That's a good tip.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's another one. If you're going to buy stock, buy low, sell high.
That doesn't sound obvious at all. Not at all. So yeah, let's
I think I've seen this floor plan before.
oh yeah.
In one of your webinars, maybe.
Probably. So first thing you mentioned today, maybe requirements. Could that be something we should work off of?
As a good tip, make sure you know what you're designing for, but not just the simple requirements that you see here: primary, secondary coverage, co-channel interference, how much you don't want it, but like which AP are you going to use?
Yep.
Like, I think when you design here, you should use a generic AP, not.
I was gonna come to that. So for secondary, we have a pretty strict limit of neg 67. What do you like to use?
Actually, while we're here, a
Mhm.
tip is if you have secondary, it helps with voice grade devices and helps with roaming.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're near the edge, the perimeter of your building, it's okay not to have secondary there because no one's walking through the exterior wall.
Exactly.
So don't think it has to be 100% coverage. You think of a little, maybe a couple meters or more around the perimeter doesn't need secondary. So
Yeah.
don't overbuild just to get the secondary fully to the corners.
And the secondary coverage obviously means, like, whereas primary is the strongest access point signal, secondary is, can I hear two signals, and at what signal strength the weaker access point is audible, right?
And I like that you added tertiary, because if I see tertiary, it gives me this warning that, oh man, I'm going to have trouble with co-channel interference.
Yep.
Because if you have 65 tertiary, you probably have too many APs.
Probably, certainly, if you have all 2.4 radios enabled, then it's
Definitely.
inevitable.
Yeah.
All right. Let's.
So should we count that as a tip?
Yeah,
Turn off 2.4 radios.
Yeah, at least most of them, or at least some of them. All right. But
Oh, you want these tips to be truthful. Oh,
they can be sarcastic too.
okay.
I mean, either way. What about like wall materials and things of that nature? How would you like if you can go out, you measure kind of the wall. How do you like to measure the wall materials if you can go on site and spend time with that?
It's pretty easy. You may have something that makes RF, something that measures RF. You put the maker on one side of the wall, hopefully about 4 meters away, so you're out of the free space path loss curve, so it's getting a little flatter.
Mhm.
Take a measurement on one side of the wall, take a measurement on the other side of the wall, subtract. Maybe take multiples along the way to see. Sometimes there might be just something in the wall that you can't see.
Mhm.
So if you take multiples, you'll get that worked out. A good tip for there is don't use a phone for doing the measurements, because when the phone is listening, it's usually scanning all the channels.
Yeah.
And what you really want is something you can lock on a specific BSSID, or at least a specific channel, so it doesn't roam to other channels. You get more data quicker.
Right.
You think beacons coming out 10 times per second, if you have it focused on that, you'll get at least 10 data points per second, and then the averages work out a little better.
There you go. And so if you cannot go on site, if you cannot do the wall measurement, what do you do? Like at least there's some rules of thumb.
You can guess.
Yeah.
And I would guess high if I was going to guess. And then I also like to guess low.
Okay.
If anyone's ever been in photography, good cameras have the ability to hold a button down for bracketing. In a camera, it changes your aperture or your speed, but basically it changes your exposure, up one stop, down one stop kind of thing.
Mhm.
When I'm doing designs and I don't know for sure what's in the walls, I'll bracket the RF attenuation of the walls. Usually the thing you have most of, which in a lot of office buildings is drywall.
Yeah.
And then I'll take it from a 3 to a 4 to a 5. And I don't want it to be too high or too low, because if I set it too low, I might have too few of APs. If I set it too high, I might have too many APs to get past that issue.
Mm-hmm.
But then my co-channel interference goes up if it actually isn't a 5. So I use bracketing to get me an idea of how sensitive is my design. It shouldn't break if I move it up 1 or 2 dB on the wall. And it also shouldn't break if I go the other way. So bracketing on your wall attenuations. if you can measure, it's all better. I will just say right here in front of everyone, and you can agree or disagree.
Mhm.
It's not always a 4 on the drywall.
It's not?
Amazing.
Come on, come on.
So you can use it as a starting point, but it's also not there.
Okay.
Another good tip when you're doing these designs, treat your exterior walls differently than your interior walls. Even though you might have an auto wall and it brings them all in at once,
Yeah.
treat the load-bearing walls different. The bathroom walls are different. Elevator shafts obviously different. Stairwells are different. So don't just have one wall type for the whole building. Or you could just hire Dan to come in and draw all your walls and furniture.
There you go.
Keith,
Sure.
can we ask a question from the Q&A tool?
Yes.
Okay, so David Stone asks, can you speak to insulated metal panel walls? I didn't see it on the list. What should I select?
When I talk to insulated metal walls, they don't answer. That was for Anders. I just did your dad joke for you.
There you go. There you go. That's the useful advice we get from this webinar. And this webinar is done. Thank you.
We're all there. I've worked with different panels of different types. I've seen them as low as a 6 and as high as a 30, a single panel. So if you can't measure it, what I do is I contact the contractor who built it or the architect who designed it. Usually the contractor is better, and see if they've used that same material in another building and go measure it there. So I might be doing one across the country and I don't want to fly there. I'll just find one local and test it.
There you go. There you go.
It's better because the range is so different. It will totally change your design. You run across the same kind of things if you're in hospitals with radiation, and sometimes hospitals where they moved the radiation clinic to a different place, and they didn't take out the walls. So good to find those.
And I like to use like pessimistic values for walls, like especially here you can, for example, see that people typically don't draw things like kitchen furniture, overall like bookshelves, stuff like that. They do attenuate it quite a bit. So putting a bit pessimistic, being a bit pessimistic on the materials helps. However, reflections on the other side compensate that pessimism, like a little bit.
Same with columns.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for years, and there was a time when, if I draw a column, and then I would go in the real world and find the column didn't have the effect that I had predicted.
So let's illustrate that. What if we do a mega attenuating column, like something like 60 dB per meter? How about that? And all the way to the ceiling. Well, there we go. And let's draw a couple of those and just illustrate that effect. There we go. Now we'll come to the AP placement as well. Here we go. So what would be our weapon of choice today?
Xeris. Okay, just got me.
There you go. We'll just use like something Wi-Fi 7, and here we go.
Show the coverage.
I wish I would. I'm not showing it though.
You're on secondary right now.
Oh, no wonder. There we go. So this like not extremely realistic column, but this is what used to happen, right? And this is why we don't model columns unless we also account for the refraction. So you can see still behind the columns there's a little bit of and this is what would happen probably.
To prove that your code is working, mount that AP on the column.
On the column.
Yeah. So even with the no, just to the side, like you face mount. So even that's what's in the real world if you mount one, even with your reflection calculation.
Yeah.
So one tip is try what you do and actually do it.
Yep.
And then walk it, and then you can compare.
Yep. Absolutely. And it kind of also depends on what kind of environment you have. And this is where it gets difficult because it's so difficult to measure reflectivity and refractions and stuff like that.
I like the idea of reflection.
Yeah.
But unlike attenuation, I don't know how to measure it to put the number in.
Exactly.
So I like adding it, and that some smart people have figured it out, but I don't know how to, if I'm on site, how to put the number in.
So here's a bit more conservative view of that, like just reducing the effect a little bit. But yeah, there we go.
What I think is interesting with those is if you take that AP, put it back up against the column, and just move it like, a couple feet off, and then rerun that test of the reflections, and notice like how big of an impact it has, whether the AP is like 1 foot away from the column versus
Yep.
3 feet or 6 feet away. Like it makes a drastic difference.
It does, and this to me does reflect a reality.
Ooh, nicely
quite.
done, nicely done. But you're right, Jerry. It does make a difference, just that little bit. And so for a lot of people have said, well, don't put an AP too close to anything that's going to be a wall or whatever. In fact, I was at a site last week where they said, yeah, we don't ever put APs closer than 3 meters from a wall. I'm like, so they're always in the middle of the room? And they're like, yeah, that's because they thought this had effect. Once you actually model the rooms correctly, you can see that it doesn't have that effect most of the time.
Exactly. All right, we'll just leave it there. Anything else about kind of the floor plans, the walls, the structures, things like that? Yes.
There you go.
Jim Palmer asks, can you show us how to build custom walls in Hamina?
Excellent question. So you would go into, let me just get the Zoom stuff out of the way. You would go into the add modify of the wall table, and here, what I like to do typically is take one of the materials that is pretty close to it and then just duplicate. And then we could put in like hanging silly wall as the name. Let's make it a brick material. We'll make it fairly attenuating. And then we would say it is actually 2 meters from the wall, so 6 feet 8 or something from the wall, and we'll make it transparent even and black. So this silly wall should be like hanging from the ceiling.
Well, if you draw one and then go into 3D, you can see what it looks like.
Let's take a look. So here we go.
Silly hanging wall is coming up.
There we go. Silly hanging wall.
Isn't that what you have your APs mounted to?
It kind of is, and in reality, a lot of the ceilings are like this, aren't they? Like they have a lot of structures and things like that. I was at the Maxi Hotel most of the days last week, as was Dan Jones, and like in there, it's like a huge slab of concrete, and a lot of the concrete is not fully built or whatever. So in the ceiling there's like pillars of concrete everywhere, and the APs are always stuck into the highest place of the ceiling, and then there's a lot of concrete, so they're not audible quite as far as they could be, which is actually probably a good thing in that environment.
And you need to be able to model it.
Yeah.
So having been here now, Dan, you need to come back, check in the office, and all of the raceways where all the cables are, they're hung low, so you need to add those in your model now.
That's Dan's homework.
I'm on it.
New
I'm
homework.
on it.
There you go. Any other questions from the audience?
On this topic, this is one I was actually just working with some customers with in Slack recently. Can you draw a lower wall now underneath that upper wall that you just drew? And the one caveat to it, I'll let you do it first and see what you run into.
Yeah, I've done this,
You know where that's
especially
gonna go?
before we had windows and stuff like that. But I'll just put another second silly wall here, and I'll remember to press the duplicate button here as well. So
So basically, it'll be an opening in between the two walls.
yeah. So what you're saying is I should do this, or like this and this and this. So top height 0.5, and maybe we'll use a silly color for that too, like I don't know, dark brown or red. Here we go. And when you start putting this in here, like it's great when you're editing it, but when you need to start, oh yeah, it actually disappears.
Yeah.
We have the automatic system that
Yep.
takes
So this
out the
was
other wall. Yes.
So the trick, you know what to
Go
do?
ahead.
If you hold down the disable snapping, whatever.
Yeah,
whatever
exactly.
that, yeah.
Now I recall, because
Okay.
Yeah, and there you go. And yeah, I'll just disable snapping and put them fairly close, but not to identical locations. Hopefully I managed to do that.
Yep, exactly.
And it worked.
There's a power user tip for you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jerry.
Add
for
that to our tip counter.
And luckily you don't need to do that with windows or doors, because if you use the window or door material, it kind of fills in. And you can see how to do these also in the wall editor. But it kind of fills in this top of the door with the material that's closest to it. So it does try to have these smarts. And same with the windows, like you only put in the window material, but it fills in, the top and bottom materials with the nearest and thickest material
So
that's
in
close
this
to it.
case, you could have made window material with the dB loss of 0, and it
Mhm.
would automatically filled in.
So
If the attached wall was already there.
yeah. But essentially, like here, if you say fill top and bottom, then and you leave these guys out, one of these guys out, it kind of fills the top and bottom with a nearby material. It
Yeah, so
tries to be smart like that.
You
And
see, can
the
you
other
do
thing
that?
that I did, oh sorry,
Oh,
the other thing that I've done as well is if like you've got a space where you're trying to design like screens where they've got screens everywhere,
Mhm.
is actually do the reverse of that, right? So have it so that there is a wall that's just in the middle floating and don't fill the top and bottom, and then you get a screen on the wall.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Another tip.
Okay, how about, is there a way I can have it learn walls if I've done a validation survey?
So the case where you go and survey first,
Yeah.
and then you would.
So I've collected data.
Mhm.
The data points don't necessarily know where walls are, but they do what the RF losses are.
So let's take a look at that. So we'll go back to Hotel Blériot, and what we've done here is just measure. Let's take, I don't know, fourth floor or something. We've just measured this thing, and this is the first thing we do. Then we go out and remediate, maybe try to redesign, and sometimes it needs to happen at the site, like immediately too. So here's the survey data, what was actually measured, and it actually does transfer that. Let's draw some scope zones to kind of limit the signals first. There we go. Oh no. There we go. And we'll cross out the staircase. The background is blurred on purpose. And then if we want to, make a ubiquity network out of this, we actually can, and it kind of automatically learned the environment based on the survey data. So I don't think there's any walls. Yeah, there's no walls drawn here or anything, but it did
But it
kind of catch
does
it from
represent,
yeah.
and this might not be as precise as a wall.
Yeah.
You kind of have attenuation zones in between,
Yeah.
but it's still better than nothing.
Yeah. And it's like, it is pretty accurate in a sense that it does kind of, this is based on real environment, not guesses, but it doesn't like, learn the walls per se. It just learns the entire environment. But it's,
Now, if it only could learn the walls automatically,
now if there only was
if
that,
only.
maybe we'll get that. Come WLPC Prague. Maybe.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Who knows? And here we can see an example of, by the way, of the 2-4 disable thing. Because we have a pretty sparse network and pretty thick walls, it doesn't very aggressively disable 2-4, but it does. So what about, like, speaking of Wi-Fi tips, when you then go to design your network, remediation or greenfield, what channels do you like to use? Or do you disable
all of them?
all of them? No, like common practice, like this is what I would disable in Europe, this is what I would disable in US from the 5 gigahertz pool.
So from the 5 gigahertz point, no, because whatever the APs are, they get it from the regulatory domain.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yep.
And you're following that as well.
Yep.
In 5 gig, I know a lot of people don't like DFS. I love DFS. They're wonderful until they don't work. And so you have to kind of stay on top of your log files to know if DFS event happens a lot and it's not fun for the clients because they get pushed to another AP.
Mhm.
It's not fun for your channel plan because they move around. Then just remove
Those channels.
those channels
exactly,
only.
exactly right.
Don't just turn all the DFS off because you don't want to try it.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if you're by an airport or not. Somebody someplace made that up as a thing, and then it's not true.
Yeah. So check your log files and then only disable selectively the.
I
Yeah.
blame Andrew.
Come back
That
every
sounds
now
like an
and then
Andrew
and double
thing.
check.
What's that?
That sounds like an Andrew thing, blaming DFS for things.
Uh-huh.
That an Andrew thing?
I didn't invent it. I just had to deal with it.
There.
Well, I understand, Andrew, if you turn them off, clients won't have that as one possible issue, maybe. But if you turn them on, it also doesn't mean that clients won't have other issues. So
Sure.
it
It's a
gives you-
balancing act.
What about like cabling? Since we talked about these trays that go in the ceiling and stuff like that, how do you account for cabling in your plans?
I kind of do the reverse. I like my cable installers to be trained, and then I would much rather pay them to mount an AP than have a really expensive IT guy mount the AP. They're up there, they have the ladder. So I give them a little bit of training and teach them. If 95% of the APs, I give them some rules. It needs to be within 2-3 meters of this X, but you can move it anywhere in the room you want. And if I've designed a robust design, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
And then for that very few places where it has to be at this location, then I can ask them to do that rather than make them do all of them. Because what I found is if you make them put every AP exactly where you tell them to at this perfect place,
none of those are.
that cable location might be extremely difficult to get to. And the cost to bring a cable to a place maybe only 2 meters away might double their cabling cost.
There you go.
Because they have to punch through, core drill through something and they didn't need to. So I like letting the cabler make the decision of where the actual endpoint is, but I give them rules. Follow this rule, do this, as well as if it's a K-12 or a university, I want them to rotate the AP and make sure that the lights face the door. So when I need to go troubleshoot, I don't have to interrupt the classroom.
That's smart. So lights facing the door.
So I have a really good example of this, right? So I was helping someone with a design, and the architects had put all the cable trays in on their plans. So it's a building that hasn't been built yet. So they put all the cable trays in. But where they've put the cable trays, they've like gone the long way round something because presumably they can't go through a particular thing. But now the cable is like 180 meters long or something. So it was really good to be able to show them, yeah, you're going to need to figure out a different route for that cable because that's not going to work.
Oh, now you're going to show off your new cable tray feature.
Yeah, and like this has been the algorithms to actually pull these nicely and logically seem to be a bit of a like it wasn't as easy as a product guy like me would think, but yeah,
Well,
I think
the algorithm math's behind it, but
Yeah.
what it does allow someone to do is just move the AP and the cable length goes appropriately.
yeah.
I've just found a lot of my customers don't have cable trays. If they're building a new property, yes,
Then
we love
they
it.
do,
But
right?
with old stuff, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, that's the shame,
So this
isn't it?
cable tool is wonderful. It helps. It's still a guesstimate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I run, maybe instead of 100 meters, I might only put in 60 or 70.
Yeah.
Because there's also the vertical component, and,
Yep.
and you're taking part of the vertical component, but sometimes they go over, down, over, up, over, down, and it doesn't look that way on the map. You in your software thinks about AP to wherever it's going to go, not that it has to go up and down around something.
This is true. However, now let me just rename this as floor 4, for example, and we'll just clean it up a little bit. We'll just say it's floor 4, and we'll say this is floor 5, right? I don't know if you knew, because this was pushed out. When was this pushed out?
Yeah.
We haven't even done a video or release notes, but it was pushed out last week or something like that. but there is now the cable riser. So you can take the
Oh, thank you.
take this thing.
I mean, I have to watch all your webinars to know what's going on.
Dude, and even for us, like just today we woke up to the realization. Marketing asked, like, didn't we push cable trays out or risers out last week? And we were like, yeah, I guess we did. So we could pull this to floor above, floor below, whatever you want. Which one are we in now? Let's clean up floor 5, and we'll just take out the APs from there. We can't. So we'll clean this up, and we'll say in floor 4, we don't actually have a switch at all. And then this guy, we say like this cable riser spans through all the floors. There we go. So now, just create new ones since these were duplicated. As we start placing them.
You need to build the building first, don't you, see?
Oh, I do need to do that, don't I? Because we don't have a switch here. Yeah, I'll just do that.
That's another tip. Build your buildings first.
Only then things can work. This be correct, this be correct. So from this floor 4, now we can see how the switch is on a neighboring floor, right? So the cable goes on this floor, this floor, this floor,
Up the riser.
up, and to the neighboring floor switch. Thank you, Dan. I got myself scared there for a while. Not that I wouldn't have extensively already used this feature, but
I let you go long enough so I could see the panic rising. And
for
then
me
I
to
thought,
feel very
put him out of his misery.
uncomfortable. And
Dan, you know he is your boss. Just saying.
I think in this company, it's just a justification to give give me more of a hard time. But yeah, I think stuff like this is still fairly new, and it's still finding its place in the industry, and a lot of people haven't probably found it, let alone like used it.
But they're really useful tools for when you have a need. A lot of the tools and a lot of tips we've talked about are pretty generic across the board, but sometimes you come across situations where you need the cable, you need the switch ports, you need to say, oh, by the way, we also have to deal with all of the phones with their PoE draw, and usually that doesn't fall on us as Wi-Fi guys. And it's a nice benefit to be able to go to your customer and say, oh, by the way, if you tell me what all those are, I'll give you a better report on what your switches need.
So going back to switches actually, and on the, like, how much have you done 6 gigahertz APs, and let's say brownfield switch Wi-Fi 4, Wi-Fi 3 to 6 gigahertz capable APs?
Probably a couple million square feet.
So how often do you refurbish the switches versus run the APs every single time? So no running 6P APs on low power mode or stuff like that.
I've yet to find people who are making that jump, at least in my customers, that have switches that can handle all the power.
Okay, but it's not an option for you to run the APs, like drop a couple of spatial streams and stuff like that.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, only if you cannot.
I have seen people put in some Wi-Fi 7 APs and not turn on Wi-Fi 7 because they don't want to turn it on yet, but they still need the power draw.
Yeah.
And you still need all 4 spatial streams that you're going to be putting in anyway. So
yeah,
and that truly is a higher cost
certainly
to do the switches and cabling than it is for the actual APs themselves. So it's a budget issue. You got to think about it.
That it is.
You look like you're about to go do an actual survey.
Well, we could try, right?
You have a Nomad on?
Yeah, we might as well. You want to carry the laptop, or you want to do the surveying?
I've done both. You walk and click, and I will just be nice and carry your laptop.
That is
stare into the picture. Hello, it's me.
Very
so
nice.
If you see me bouncing, it's me.
But you will be seeing my screen.
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
okay.
I hope you can see it on the webinar as well. So let's take a quick status check first.
I can see your.
Am I on 2 cameras now?
Yeah.
And we can see the utilization is decent, and all is going well. So what was the name of the project? Office-ish, right? And I hope it's updating to you guys as well.
Yep.
Here we go. So we will take continuous survey. And where were we? We were in
Yep,
this
over
room
here.
here.
You're looking for Radisson Guest at the moment, you see.
Oh, I am.
This isn't the rat. Where are we?
Where are we? What is this? What's even happening here?
Happening.
This is Jerry Olla. Jerry's trademark. All right. Has anybody ever done a live survey using two webcams on a webinar? That I don't know, but now we have.
There's two of us following you around with laptops.
I mean, I'm glad there's nobody at the office. It doesn't look much weird at all, right?
UC should be used to people following around with cameras, though, right? Being such a celebrity.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Just another day in the life of
How are your
followed by
legs? Do you want me to put
paparazzi.
you in the chair and push you? That's a bad experience.
Is that a reference to the past?
No, I would never do that.
Why is there just a random pallet in the middle of the office?
Can you see my screen?
Yep, still see it.
Excellent.
We're like roaming around. Like, how many times have we roamed now?
We're getting the full tour here.
Yeah.
You just show me.
So any
Oh,
tips?
yeah.
Anybody have any tips for surveying? Except continuous survey is definitely the fastest. As long as
Here's a question for the audience: is what do you prefer, or what
keep
survey
moving,
method do you
or you know
prefer?
how to click. So click every time you turn, click every time you arrive, or if you want to do it slightly more slowly, I guess then we could take the line survey. So this gives me the time to like, you know, take through look at my bearings. Okay, there's the columns. All right, here we go, and just take one line.
We
Seamless roaming.
live demos, always great.
This is why voice is important.
We
It
need to
must
get
be
you over to
DFS.
Helsinki.
It's a DFS related event.
Just for Andrew.
And another point, so see how I was changing the survey modes. First I was doing the continuous, which continuously gathered data, and now I'm in the point survey mode, which just takes, you know, 1 point at a time. How do we do this? Are we roughly here? I guess we are, and you can see the point being gathered there.
We did experience
see-
a hard roam there, which I think is a good example of laptops are not really optimized for roaming, are they?
Ah, so are you seeing us like you
Yeah,
know,
it came back, but it was definitely a hard roam. It tried to hang on to the Wi-Fi that the AP was connected to as long as it could before it
there you
was
go.
forced to.
So what do you guys use? Keith, what do you use as a survey method? Is it continuous
I
or?
like continuous because it's how I've been teaching people for 15, 20 years. And
Yeah.
it's the fastest and collects the most amount of data, but also means you have to know what you're doing. Oh, there you are.
It is the fastest. I like to use points
But-
for these kind of places. Like
Point survey is the easiest to teach someone else what to do.
it is really.
And though lines someplace in between, it does take training, not as much as continuous. But continuous, I think, is all really pretty easy. You just click where you start, click when you stop, click when you turn.
Except it has its caveats, right? Like you have to keep either walking or you need to click when you arrive to the location if you keep the survey going. And then you need to click in the same place when you leave the location.
Right, that's why you click when you start, click when you stop. If you start again, click again.
But it's not that simple, at least for me, man. So hard to remember. And now I stop again. I click when I arrived
And click when
and
you
I
start.
click when I leave again in the same location.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm doing a really sloppy job at this, but there we go.
I'd also say you're not following, your feet aren't following the same path that you're doing on the map. Because you're walking around.
Yeah. There we go. Where did we lose Joel? We did not. Excellent.
Joel's here.
All right.
There's the hard roam again. You know what I'm wondering too, because he's mirroring from
Yeah,
his
that's
phone
hard
to
roam.
the laptop. I wonder if that's messing up the Wi-Fi roaming as well.
Well, it's definitely having to channel hop, isn't it, for Apple
Yeah.
Wireless Direct Link? So,
The laptop moves here. To find
I love it.
Yeah, I've never done that test where I mirrored my phone to my laptop and then went and walked around around
It's
this.
trying to
That's
roam
really
through.
gonna mess up its roaming algorithm.
Do you know what? I think that's one thing I haven't tried when I've been looking at
Yeah.
Apple Wireless Direct Link is what's the effect as you're roaming. Yeah, fair play.
That's that would be an interesting packet capture to look at.
Oh man.
Oh,
Ooh.
we lost it.
There we
Did we
go.
lose?
They're back.
Oh yeah, my
Yeah.
Zoom went dark and everything. Here we
Yeah,
go.
we were talking while you were disconnected there of I wonder, yeah, what that does to like the roaming algorithm when with you mirroring your phone to your laptop and then walking around with the laptop trying to support both wireless connections.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like we were definitely pushing it. We were definitely pushing it. Let's look at floor 4. Or which floor did we survey again? We did.
The floor that we're on. Duh.
No, well, of course it was floor number 5. All right, here we go, and we'll take this Hamina SSID. Here we go. So it's all uploaded here.
No
And
shortage of APs, that's for sure.
no, definitely not. I just filtered it down to just this SSID. But it's it's the total coverage is pretty good. And Keith, you were saying today, like you like to look at one AP at a time pretty often, right? The analysis.
Yeah, each AP has had whoever designed it. In fact, this is the flip side of doing the simulation when you say, oh, I'm going to carry this AP, it's going to cover this far. And that's what you think during the design phase. During the validation phase, you just kind of do the thing in reverse.
Yeah.
Did the AP in the corner give what I thought it would give?
Yep. And
that one covers, looking at the simulation you just did, the simulation showed that one and kind of by Joel's desk to cover that whole area.
yeah.
And then you have data now to prove it did.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you would probably move these to their actual positions. But what I find is if you fairly thoroughly survey the site, then you'll
and that's another tip we'll just add. If you're doing a validation survey and you see the AP, sometimes that is just to walk in around the AP or underneath the AP. Usually the directly underneath the AP isn't the strongest. It's someplace close. So
Yeah.
I'll just pass by it to get give the software as much data as possible to put it where it is.
Absolutely. Because the AP may do like a donut pattern-ish, and it might have a little bit of fade right on underneath
But
the.
if you walk a couple of feet to the side, when it places, it will place really close to where it is.
Absolutely. Also, careful on the transmit power column here, because we show what is reported in the AP beacons, but what's reported in the AP beacons may vary depending on the vendor. For example, Juniper shows this like this was the single transmit chain. For Aruba, it's EIRP, including the antenna, and like it's different ways to.
Okay, now do the cool thing. Hold the shift key down and show 2.
Yes, and if you
There.
want to select multiple, you just hold down the shift key.
Yeah.
Select multiple. Absolutely.
And if you
I've got a tip I can add.
go to secondary and then do the same thing again, you'll see where the 2 interlap.
True that. So secondary, 2 APs, and yeah, you can see the interlap.
And and what you see is those 2 don't do such a good job of helping each other.
Yeah.
But take the 2 in the corners.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So Jerry,
What's your tip, Jerry?
On the AP location, here's I guess kind of a pro tip I'll say is what I've actually noticed is if I do a survey and it is a complete, thorough survey, but the AP location is not where it is physically, it's generally a good indication that there is something either wrong with the AP or like the AP is not mounted correctly or is, buried above, next to something metal, or there's some anomaly that's happening that's causing the algorithm to not be able to figure out where the source of that signal is coming from. And often what I end up finding is there's something wrong there, right? Either with the physical installation or the AP is not performing as it should be. So it actually warrants more investigation, not just, oh, let me physically move that AP to the right location, but if it's not in the correct location and it's way off, that usually warrants some additional physical investigation.
I have a question to go along with that tip, just because I was working on something. When you're walking and you're collecting data, I can take a picture and save it as onto the validation survey. Yay, wonderful. Have you found it easier to do while you see the AP? Or I like to do it in 2 passes because I feel like I have to stop the survey, take a picture, restart the survey, because that's a long time just to be in one place. And I'm moving my camera, my phone in different angles, which change the signal as well. So that's, for me, I do that in 2 passes. It's kind of a pain, but then you also get the photo of where it is. So when you get back, you can go and move it to right where it was in the room.
From my side, I'd say that's it depends. But
Right.
I would say in general with Hamina, because it is so fast to start and stop surveys, and it's so fast to add like a picture note, that I think it actually makes more sense generally to do it while I'm surveying. As soon as I see that AP, let me just document that while I go. The reason why I say it depends is because sometimes it's very difficult to physically locate the APs depending on the environment, where it requires me to really kind of stand there and look for it, and having the survey data that shows me where those APs are in the building. Sometimes better to do that in 2 passes, right? Where I come back through and I already know kind of those general locations.
That's kind of why I like the 2 pass. Also, it allows me, if there's an AP that's on a floor, if it's the first floor I've done and I haven't done the next floor, it'll place an AP where I was closest on this floor. And then when I go back to that spot and I don't see it, one thing I can do is just click on it, and it has a different pattern on the ground. It doesn't have a big green hole. It's got some yellow red drop. And then I go, oh, this one's not on this floor, so I won't take a picture. Obviously, I can't take a picture if it's not here.
Yeah. And that's also why I like to do all the floors at once if possible, so that the APs are placed. Because if you do one floor and you start editing all the contents, you often also move the APs, and then you may accidentally also move the AP that's on the wrong floor. And moving the AP in Hamina kind of fixes the location of the AP. So if you touch the AP and you start moving it, we will not replace it anymore after more surveys. So it kind of gets fixed on that floor.
So you should definitely know for sure it's that AP.
Exactly.
One of that's why
you can free it up though.
The 2 pass method is it's that AP. I mean, I can click on it and I know exactly which AP it is.
Yeah.
By the way, one more tip: use your AP naming and don't. So one tip: name your APs. They make it so much easier when you're working. 2, on your AP naming scheme, you know what? I know what building you're in. I do, really. That's standing there in the building. So I don't need the AP name. I don't need the AP model. There's a whole bunch of things that people put in their naming conventions because they're sitting back beforehand and going, yeah, we think that's where it goes. When you're in your controller, you also already know what building it is. You know what type of AP it is. So don't waste those precious letters, because you have a very limited amount, on things that are going to be the same across the board. But floor, yes, give me the floor. Give me the location on the map that we're using. Don't give a location that, oh, it's by endoscopy, and endoscopy moved, and it's not based on that. It's what's the floor by the column.
Could the
So
AP name also have a description of what is endoscopy for no, guys like me?
No,
or-
it would be hematology. I should use
yeah,
hematology.
hematology. That I would have understood
Sure,
because
since-
our previous office was.
Did you bring that door with
at
you
the-
over here?
We should have, but
Yeah.
it would have cost us a little bit to start actually removing building infrastructure from but yeah, that's true. And just if you accidentally do get stuck with an AP on the wrong floor, you can always remove it from here, and then you can always return it to by just right clicking on the map and kind of bringing back the AP. So we can bring any AP. And what I think is nice about this is you can actually let's take all the SSIDs here. So if you need to place any of the APs, you can select the SSID, and then all of the APs will show up here that are not placed on the map, and they are shown by loudest first. So the most logical one is like right there at the top for you as well. So again, different ways to kind of mess up with your AP placements. Let's take this guy. If we move it, we can also move it back to its original location, like what the system thought. So we can kind of remove it back to or replace it back to its original location.
While we have a bunch of people, they're on the chat, people are on the talk here.
Yep.
One of the things that people have trouble with is trust. I have a trust issue with the software.
Yeah.
How have you found the accuracy in AP placement? Does it get you close?
Well, you're talking to a slightly biased audience here,
I know, but they've also
but I think like if you
They're
cover the
fairly
area
experienced
fairly
people,
well,
yeah.
it is very, very accurate.
I think that's
but
you. Yes, them.
oh, sorry about that. Jeez, sorry, guys, go.
Dan.
Me. Yeah, it puts it where it hears it loudest, right? So it's always pretty accurate. That's what I found. I've been able to, I think a lot of the time it's environmental things like Jerry was saying that cause it to not be kind of where it actually is. But yeah, most of the time it's pretty good, especially when you're doing omnidirectional stuff, things like that.
I also, just a little tip, it usually places it on the survey path somewhere. If they get really weird and they're not near any survey path, that's also another telltale sign that something else is going up. Or it's on a whole different floor or a different building even, and it's just as close as we could get.
Here we could see, for example, like apparently there's a company called Fairchild somewhere in the building, but it's pretty weak. Didn't place the APs on the map. What about Guest? Didn't place those. I guess it's pretty weak. What about Sponsor Capital? Just to go through a couple. Here, for example, Sponsor Capital is probably one floor above or one floor below, and
It's up, and they have a bunch of them.
they have a bunch of APs. So those were accidentally placed on this map because they're so friggin' I don't know. Yeah, 26 dBm transmit power.
They
Is
cover
that
as much
even
as-
legal?
They cover, well, not here.
Yeah, like
Look what you found.
yeah. Never mind. We definitely didn't name the company or anything. Who was? Yeah. Anyway, we'll go back to Hamina and just be nice about it.
Yeah. But that I think that's the point is when you look at the data one AP at a time, there's so much information you can learn.
Yeah, really is.
And when you see weird anomalies, just stop and look at it and go, what could have caused this? Like Jerry said, it could have caused that it was hidden up in some metal something, or it could be on another floor. The other one I like is from neighbors. You can just see which side they come in on.
Yeah.
And if you take the slider and you go weaker and stronger signal, you can actually see it, the direction of where.
Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. That's very.
One
Yeah,
more
I could.
Yes.
That was just one more tip.
What?
Just add
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
I can actually share an example of that specifically I did a survey once and surveyed, let's say on floor 2 and on floor 1, and the AP was showing up on floor 2, but I knew it was on floor 1, but they had installed the AP above this like metal drop ceiling, and the signal was actually stronger on the floor above than it was directly underneath the AP. So the AP was placed on the second floor instead of the first floor.
I think that was the case in what we just saw as well. They had to have the APs blasting full power on the false ceiling.
Again, I think the people on that thing that were blasting down were putting them underneath the desk,
under
pointed
desk.
down.
Could have been under desk.
Yeah.
Could have very well
But
been.
Dan, you wouldn't do that because you have a bracket to fix that.
Exactly
I
right.
do. They still haven't put my initials in the SKU though, so I'm a bit upset about that. But let them off.
We'll get them. We'll get them one of these days.
But did they give you a hat?
They did give me a hat. Yeah,
So
they
you're
did.
done. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, well.
You totally couldn't see it because the Axeltex cap was blurred. Oh, sorry. we will not name the Texas antenna company that starts with A and ends with X. I was thinking of should we take a look at the troubleshooting as well? You've written all kinds of courses as well on troubleshooting, things like that, and this is what we were looking at today. Let's see if we can just bring it in.
And just to recap for everyone who hasn't watched all of these over the last little bit, tell us what you for on this one you picked Meraki
or Juniper.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have an API, you have an API key on your end, you're calling into the cloud. And so in order to connect this, your cloud provider has to have an API available to you.
Correct.
And then you're querying their API to get answers back.
Exactly right. And what we now did is, sorry, I went through it too quickly, but all I did was connect live analysis settings. So I just put in my API key, connected to the cloud, selected the site from my org, selected the map from my maps that I want to tweak. And now here are the same APIs as we saw in survey. Now we see them in the live view, and we can see like the APs, their current channels, how many clients currently connected. And for example, in this room, would you be surprised that there's 3 clients on 6 gigahertz? Such as probably, this guy.
Mine,
Mine, yours. Is this 6? It is 6, 6 gigahertz, 80 megahertz.
Well, why don't you tell me how my client's doing right now?
Yeah, should we look at interference though first, because the channel bubbles are red here.
Oh, something's wrong.
Something's terribly wrong. It's those 80 megahertz channels. So on 6 gigahertz, because there's just 2 APs. But this is where I think like I have a more relaxed attitude to a little bit of code channel than you do.
Live
probably.
where you don't have a solution to this.
Come on.
You just need 1200 megahertz and you'll be fine.
We in Europe we're actually forced to live with a little bit of CCI.
Or the other is you could change the channel width down.
Yeah, you could, but is it worth it?
Joel did this just so you could have this yellow screen.
Excellent. That is, Joel, very thoughtful of you. But even still, like 80 megahertz, it's still pretty like good. So would you actually put this narrower just because of 2 AP CCI?
I would, from the reason that I don't want to get called back later in the future when someone says Wi-Fi is not working and the reason was it got overloaded.
Yeah.
And I know this is going to cause an issue. It may not, but if it does, I will give them a little caveat that says, we're going to do this because you think you're going to get more throughput on 80 megs than 40. And so I'll give it to you, but I'm also telling you it's going to have these downsides.
Yeah, exactly.
People have this, they're enamored with wider channels. But if you look at the airtime, the amount of time that's actually transmitted, a 40 megahertz wide channel, 80 megahertz wide channel, the time is nearly identical because most of the time is overhead. There's only a little sliver that's actually the payload.
Yeah.
But it gives you bigger numbers and people all like bigger numbers.
This be true.
Then again, you have a gig pipe here and I was pushing 600 or 700 meg through, so it might be a real thing here.
So okay, so what if everything shows green, including channel utilization and all of that? So yeah, that's good. But if Joel was still having trouble with his laptop, let's see what's going on there.
Mine's right there. Hit mine.
Let's hit yours.
Now, what I'm doing on mine, and this is I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who does this. I have up on my screen the Wi-Fi signal from Adrian Granados showing me my current channel. Oh, I have a MCM's index of 11 at 1200 megabits.
As do we the other direction, yeah.
Hey, so
and we can see it here. Client receive, client transmit. Yeah,
because your AP is right there.
Exactly right.
But the point is, what I see on my screen you're seeing and you're not attached to me at all.
Yep.
So
Yep.
where's this data coming from?
Yeah, and there's no supplicant. Yeah,
Yeah,
on your
I
machine.
have nothing on my
So
machine.
so
for
all
that.
of this is coming from the cloud. So through the cloud APIs, we also command the infrastructure to test against your laptop. Give me the RSSIs. Give me everything you can to
I like that you command Mist. We command Mist.
command Mist. Now
Give
that's
me Keith's information now.
can you take a walk, Keith? Can you
I can walk and see if I can make this change.
take a hike, or how do you say it in brutally? Take a hike. There we go. So we can see Keith start to walk, and we haven't, like, this is still in Hamina feature preview. So let's see how it goes, but it doesn't probably in very real time track the client. Let's see if we have pushed the kind of tracking it when it roams and stuff like that. We should see the roam at least here in the graph when he switches APs. If we do, his RSI certainly getting lower. He's at the edge of his uplink coverage. Uh-oh. There we go. But still he hasn't roamed. The MacBook refuses to roam.
We'll walk more. Yeah,
There
Keith,
There you
yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Excellent.
He just galloped. Everybody.
Yeah, and the guy, roaming man, moved as well. So it is definitely it's
Yep.
getting there. It's getting there. He's coming back.
He
Yeah,
roamed.
if you ran that same test with an
There we go.
iPhone, you'd see very, very different experience.
Yeah, that's true. It would roam a lot more quickly, wouldn't it? What is it? iPhone at neg 67, MacBook at 72, or 72 and 75. Oh, there goes Keith, roamed again. What are the
He's
roaming
so
thresholds?
fast. Did you see how
Yeah.
quick he moved there?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Through walls and
there's a-
everything.
Yeah, as far as the roaming algorithms, it varies quite a bit. You need to talk to somebody like a Ben Toner to get some insights on that. He's informed me of some of it. Especially, it's gotten even more complex now with like Wi-Fi 6E or 6 gigahertz capable devices, because there's a lot more considerations there, right, of when it's going to roam and what it's going to roam to. So yeah, it's not just a flat decision making.
Let's see if Keith roams one more time, because he's now entered the room, and he should be going from here to here.
Oh, there it goes.
Pow. And yeah, he's back. This is kind of cool, I gotta say.
Looking at them both, this in Wi-Fi signal
Yeah,
matches
it matches
same
what we see
thing.
here. Yeah.
I mean, up and down. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
plotting MCS, but the result looks almost identical.
Yeah, we're looking at Keith's screen, what the laptop saw and what the AP saw, and there's definitely a similar trend there.
And
So
but I don't have the little lines of roaming. You've got roaming lines on there.
yeah,
Very
man.
nice.
Okay.
And now I'm stable again and I'm happy.
There you go. Keith, you've done a lot of courses on troubleshooting for Wi-Fi, and you have a brand new version of the checklist, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
You want to share? You're not in there, but
No.
you did probably. Can you send it to me? We could, to end the webinar, we could take a look at that real quickly.
Yeah.
Because that will give us 25 more tips.
Just like that.
Woohoo! We'll
Yeah.
definitely go over the promised limit. How much did we promise? 50? We've at least given 25, so
Oh, yeah. We'll be good.
and we're not gonna count the fact that we did go over the hour instead of 50 minutes. But,
We should probably try and answer some of these questions as well.
yes, sir. Questions. Go, guys.
Oh, here's one that you could have some tips with as well. There was a question around warehouse type environments and recommendations around if you have, let's say, I don't have the question in front of me anymore, but let's say it's a 32-foot high ceiling warehouse. What's kind of the recommendation of the height of the AP? In their example, they said, should the APs be installed at something like 25 feet, and what kind of impact would that have?
I've been at this for many years and done lots of warehouses, some higher than 35 feet. The problem is, if you use Omni antennas, 35 feet is a bad thing to do with an Omni antenna. So the 35 feet's not bad. It's the antenna you use that's bad. So there are special made warehouse antennas. There's non-special made directional antennas that work as well. So it's not the height, it's the antenna you choose in that situation. If you're going to put in only Omni antennas and you're in a warehouse, think again. Or you can drop down on like all rod and bring it down to the level that you're asking for. I've just found if you've got forklifts in there and they can reach up to 20 feet, they will hit your APs. Just because if it's a target, they will get it. So I like leaving them as high as possible, and that seems to solve the problem. They don't hit them as much, but you end up using directional antennas. So your cost's going to go up, but your throughput and your net result will be a better Wi-Fi. And this is just a crazy tip. If you use external antennas, you will get better Wi-Fi every single time. You just have to pay a lot more money for it, and it takes a lot more design time. So it's not that Omnis are bad. Omnis work great. Directional antennas just work better. I mean, we're controlling where the RF goes, not only for where we go, but it's also where we listen. So our interference drops a bunch. On the other hand, there's a lot of features like location that just don't work at all when you use directional antennas. So yes, it's a thing and we can do them. It just has good and bad about everything.
And here's an example, like it doesn't have to be external antenna. It can be directional internal AP these days,
Yeah,
right? It's
if you can get your installers to put them right.
yeah, absolutely.
It's a whole nother
Absolutely.
issue.
Yeah.
So that would work really good, except for if you didn't put it down, then
Yeah. But if
Luckily, on our report on the AP list, it tells them exactly what angle to use, all the directions.
like
So it's
your
quite
installers
useful.
know how to do something in Plum. Like you explain Plum to them, and you say, I need it to go 30 degrees, and they're like, what's 30 degrees? So
Well, so I did one recently, and luckily the vendor had degrees on the mount, so it was actually really useful because they just read the number from the list,
found
moved
it
the
up,
mount. Yeah, it's beauty.
real quickly, Keith's checklist for making better Wi-Fi, and some of this will be incorporated in the product as well in the future. But much of this you can validate through our product and through different products like Adrian Granados's Wi-Fi Explorer
especially
Pro,
if you
NetAli.
have your API keys, because some of the things you need to get into the controller, and you'll have the ability to pull those where some of these you just can't get through the air, but most of them, if you have Wireshark, WM Pi, Raspberry Pi, Adrian Granados's Wi-Fi Explorer.
How dare you talk about other tools? But yes, absolutely.
Wait, you already fed me dinner, so I'm good.
What about breakfast tomorrow?
Oh yeah.
Yes. But here's some like really good ones, and it's hard to find. I was trying to find like controversy here, like which ones could be controversial.
A little controversial, like the target. So anything on this screen, anything that's green is a variable.
Yeah.
Like AP transmit power. Should you have it different in 2, 4, and 5 gig? Yes. How much different?
Yeah, depends.
It depends. And same with your target RSSI.
Exactly, especially secondary, you might live with a little bit less. Yeah.
So the green boxes are things you should look at, but for the most part, things like only use channel 1, 6, and 11. Duh. And when people don't, or they use
how is it?
Duh.
Yeah.
You have a whole bunch. I've been talking to him all day, and he's got lots of sounds. Like, what's developer's sound make?
Danger. What was it? Warning. This is a special one for if anybody knows Andrew Van Nash, tell him we said warning. Anyway.
So anyway, that's what this list is. It's not the end all be all. It's just a place for you to start. I've worked with customers, and you sit with them, and you find errors very, very quickly. Most of this, if you can solve a lot of Wi-Fi, if you just make it answer all the questions.
So and this is available on your site.
Yeah, free. Just look for thebellyandpros.com/checklist, but we'll put it in the show notes as well.
Excellent. And also you have a lot of other material on your site. Where can everybody find all these PDFs on your site?
wmpros.com, and we took all the PDFs and all our YouTube videos. There's like hundreds and hundreds of YouTube videos, and they're all searchable. You just put in what you want to see. Maybe you want to hear Andrew talk about voice over IP in Prague, and you don't remember what year, so you just put Andrew voice, and it'll bring it right up.
Excellent reference.
And by the way,
that's an excellent talk.
It was actually a very, very good talk.
It was.
And you might want to put it on like 80% speed, because he's really moving.
That's why they call him. That's why Mac, the ex Wi-Fi ninja, just I may or may not have seen him on Friday. He called him McFly, not McHale, but McFly. It might be because of his presentation speed. Anyway,
Did we get anyone give us tips in the chat?
how did the chat go?
It was just chaos.
Well, it was Polymer. You did say the word Polymer, so it's kind of
True. I did successfully rickroll someone.
What is Rickroll?
You don't know what rickrolling is?
Come on,
today
you
that
see.
you-
I am not telling
You've
you.
been
No,
snobbish with
we-
your English
for
terms the
everyone-
whole day.
For everyone who's listening, all of you tomorrow, Rick Roll UC. UC at Hamina.com.
It's just,
Is that a fair thing to
Oh, boy.
say?
It's a very fair thing to say. You will now know what Rick Roll means.
Oh gosh.
You're going to crash Office 365.
go into the chat, you see, and just click on the link. And
See how the spam filter works in his
Yeah.
email.
We've taught him new words like enamour and straddle. You know?
And you still remember those two?
Oh, Anders got a Rick Rome in there.
rickroll.
Rick Rome.
So any questions from the chat before we take off?
Yeah. I mean, yes.
So many.
Yeah, that's supposed to be followed by the question from the chat. Just a yes won't cut it.
Okay, question for Keith regarding WLPC from John Paul Cruz, which is a fantastic name, by the way.
Yeah.
For Keith, when is the new WLPC Black Wi-Fi reference guide going to be released?
We almost did it this year. It was really close to do, because the old one we put together, the notebook that has all the reference graphics inside that you can carry around, like
Oh, this
doesn't
one,
have
yeah.
6 gigahertz. It doesn't have Wi-Fi 7. And I got too lazy and had another project and didn't get it finished. So hopefully we'll have them available in Prague with all of the new features.
Cool.
Excellent.
The question from Amin.
Amin.
Our good friend Amin, who works with our other good friend Francois. How do you guys deal with architects who think your APs will make their design ugly and are pushing for you to relocate your APs?
This has been something that's been around for 25 years. Architects think they're ugly, and yet they still put up really, really ugly exit signs and smoke detectors,
sprinklers.
and sprinklers and speakers.
And video cameras.
Yeah, it's like, how come ours are the only ugly thing in there?
Yeah, and you can actually equal that to a sprinkler or a video camera when the architect says, like, you have to put it in the false ceiling. Well, we'll put also the video cameras in the false ceiling. They'll work great, right?
And their answer is, they don't work up there.
Yeah.
And our answer is, right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
You do have to deal with the aesthetic
It's
belief.
literally electromagnetic spectrum as well, right?
It
They're
is.
both the same thing.
And it is an issue. You have to deal with them. Architects like to
Drink, so you buy them.
Yeah.
No.
the architects like to be finished sooner, and so they leave things that they don't like to the end, and they really don't like Wi-Fi. So you need to get in with architects sooner. If you can get in with them sooner, it helps a whole lot. Plus, it helps you know where to put in the cables beforehand, because the electricians want to find out about it early. There's usually, if it's a new construction, there's a layer for low voltage, and you just need to get in and ask for your own layer. If they're nice, they'll give you one. If they're not nice, you can piggyback on low voltage.
There you go. There you go. And there's Dan's feature request again, where he wants 2 layers or 2 images for one map, where one would be the cabling plan, for example, and the other one would be the actual floor plan, which would be a fantastic thing.
It is a layer when you get the CAD. When you get PDFs, they don't give you that one. But
Yeah.
it's a nice layer to have. It also helps in the design. One of the tips I do is I take, especially for a brownfield where they already have cable pulled, there's an AP with cable, and you find out what the service loop size is. Could be 2 meters, 6 meters, 10 meters. And I put a little circle on the map, and then that tells me where I can put the AP cheapest. Please, since we're talking tips, if you have a 245 network and you're upgrading it to 6, don't swap APs in the same place. Okay, it can work, but there's way better ways to do the design. But in the design, one of the most expensive pieces is bringing the new cable to a new place. So if you can design with the targets, it lowers your customer's cost.
It's pretty true.
All right, that was tip 49 out of 50, right? Is that what we said?
Yeah.
I totally didn't just make up that number.
Yeah, I've been counting. It's definitely 49.
Let's see. Let's answer the last one, which is one of the first ones, which isn't even specifically about Hamina. It actually mentions our competitor Tamograph, but who cares?
Oh my God.
Let's answer it anyway. Jeremy Baker says, what is your preferred method for active survey, specifically load testing? Something like Tamograph? Oh, no, sorry. He said tomograph and iPerf/JPerf. Not Tamograph, tomograph.
Tomograph.
Yeah.
I'm going to answer this one. I started with Air Magnet many, many years ago, and their claim to fame was they had active and no one didn't, and their marketing pushed it so hard. I hate active surveys because they don't measure what you think they measure. You think they're going to be out and tell you this is what a client's going to see if they're in this area, and it's not. Active surveys show you where your roaming events happen. And when they do, you get a failure, which then turns out to a nice red dot on the screen, and your customers say, what's bad with the Wi-Fi there? Nothing. It was just where I roamed. And if I walked a different path on a different day at a different time, it would move somewhere else. There's no value in active surveys because when you do them, that's not what's going to happen to your clients. And no, I don't have any energy about this at all.
Active surveys available in Hamina next week.
No.
So that was tip number 50.
That was 51.
That was 51. So yeah, with that, thank you, Mr. Joel Crane. Was that right? Crane, was it? We've only worked together for like 8 years or something. Mr. McFly, Mr. Jones Eyster, as well as Jerbear Allah and the Godfather himself. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'm really disappointed I didn't actually get that suit.
One of these days.
Looking at suits, you should have. That would have been epic.
Hey, we still have a few hours tomorrow.
Yeah, we could go get
Yeah, there's actually a couple of good. We're like smack down the middle of Helsinki, so we will find a good suit store for you. All right. Well, so tomorrow expect a social media update with Keith in a gangster suit.
Yo.
There you go. And then
I got some bling going too.
you do.
Oh yeah, I do.
Anyway, thank you everybody, and sorry. We'll be back next time for more shenanigans. Bye.